Good morning. Firstly, thank you to the Liebe group for inviting me here today, and thank you for coming along to listen to me. And before I start, I'd like to let you know that we had 7 mils of rain yesterday. It has occurred to me over the last 3 years while share farming in Dalwallinu that as our cities grow, many people are becoming disconnected from agriculture and the farms that feed them. My hope is that by sharing my farming story with you today, I can encourage you and others to help bridge the gap between those involved and not involved in agriculture, as we can both learn from each other. In late 2013, I was challenged by the then Dalwallinu District High School principal to enter in an exhibit in every section in the 2014 Dalwallinu District's agricultural show. As I live in town, I have limited resources in space and equipment to grow a crop for the grain and fodder section. Ben Strickland provided me with an opportunity to share farm on a small scale and consequently enter that section. Having spent my childhood in Kojana on a small farm, I thought I knew a great deal about farming. I knew that seeding occurred in April-May and lasted 6 or so weeks, and that rain was welcome any time from seeding until September, but not during harvest, which is another lengthy event in November-December. However, now as I look back and reflect, I realise how naive I was with my knowledge of farming. Ben and I both came to a very informal agreement whereby I provided all the input costs for my adopted acre, which is actually a hectare. We decided to leave the management up to Ben, but the decision-making process was shared. This enabled me to be actively involved in every process of producing a broadacre crop. Throughout season 2014, I was in close contact with Ben as he informed me of what was happening in regards to the day-to-day operations of the farm, as well as what became known as Perrett's patch, my hectare. We conducted weekly crop inspections, and where possible with assistance, I was able to drive the respective machinery, such as the seeding rig, boom spray, harvester, truck, and deep ripper. After lengthy discussions, I helped to make informed choices in regards to fertilisers, trace elements, seeding rates, herbicides, insecticides, fungicides, variable rate technology, GPS guidance, seed coating, controlled traffic, and grain marketing. Farming is not as simple as it seems. It isn't a case of planting a crop. Apart from learning the day-to-day management and physical side of things, I also developed a greater understanding for the risks associated in broadacre agriculture. I now have an appreciation of the pressures that farmers face and have learnt that many aspects can be managed but not controlled. The time commitment made to farming is generally not understood by most people not involved in agriculture. Seeding itself is an intense 6 weeks, and then it is followed up with spraying, crop inspections and machinery maintenance. Whilst there is a break in the season for a little while around August, all it takes is a bit of rain for another lot of spraying to be applied, and once again, this takes time. I haven't even mentioned those jobs that continually sit on the to-do list but progress further to the bottom each year. I was also pleased to make a suggestion to Ben which would improve understanding and communication. I devised a method for setting the air seeder depth. Specifically, it involved colour coordinating the hydraulic ram donuts so the air seeder depth can be easily set by newbies. I also learned a lot through asking many what-if questions. What if the rain we had yesterday was twice as much? What if spraying was delayed by a week? What if we increased fertiliser this season? What if we got a plague of locusts? What if the market crashed at this point in the season? What if we relocated the farm to a high rainfall zone? Questions such as these I constantly asked Ben, and I was also pleased to be able to discuss them with other local farmers, and they were all keen to have a chat and take the time to answer my questions. The answers provided me with knowledge to reflect upon the season. Lessons learnt from 2014 were taken into the upcoming seasons, and surprisingly, many of these could be applied to my life outside of agriculture. Similarly, I have learnt that farming is not an isolated business, but one that requires networking with neighbours, friends, and local agricultural groups. These networks have allowed me to gain an insight into other farms and farming practices. Although I had a specific hectare to call my own, all decisions and costs were made on an average for the variety planted on my hectare. In a low rainfall year, my hindmarsh barley yielded 1.35 tonnes to the hectare and was sold for $254 per tonne, which, with variable rates costs of $181 per hectare and fixed costs of $83, meant I'd made a profit at the end of the season of $78 per hectare. So it was a low yield, low cost, high price, and an overall marginal year. One of the many highlights of 2014 was not only following my crop from seeding through to harvest, but winning first prize for my barley at the show, which I'm sure was due to the fact I put a purple bow around it. In 2015, I, like all farmers, immediately reinvested my profits from 2014 and grew Telfer canola on my patch as a break in the cereal rotation. The season started out well until a herbicide tank mixed with liquid fertiliser caused unexpected damage to the crop. In the end, it wasn't the canola crop we were hoping for. However, it was the first canola crop I'd grown, and so my own record was set at 650 kilos for the hectare. The period post-harvest is usually quiet. However, after a couple of summer rainfall events, a number of spraying passes were required. As we have a weed-it optical spot sprayer, we saved 85% of chemicals and still managed to keep the summer weeds at bay. This year, I'm venturing into a new and exciting time in agriculture, growing a brand new variety of wheat called Scepter. I'm sure a lot of you know about this variety, but for those who aren't familiar, it is similar to the variety Mace, but claims to have an increased yield of 7%. As a result, I've only seeded at 18 kilograms to the hectare, compared to an average of 45. This is so that it can be bulked up and used to seed next year. So far, I have applied 45 kilograms of compound fertiliser, 50 kilos of urea, and lots of rain. As Ben has been an advocate to me, I'd now like to think of myself as one. An advocate is someone who actively promotes agriculture. I'm not about to take to social media or march the street with a placard to express my opinions. Rather, advocate by being involved firsthand, asking questions, and striking up conversations with friends and family about my experiences in farming. If we all start asking questions and openly discussing the workings of agriculture, how better to educate everyone to the realities of modern day farming? Ben and I would love to be able to answer any questions you may have. But before we do, why not consider adopting an acre for yourself, or provide someone with the opportunity to do so? Thank you to Ben, Rob and Kirsten. It's been a fantastic experience for me, and I would recommend it to any and everyone.
Sarah, how does this translate into the classroom for you?
As you know, I'm a teacher, so in previous years I try and link agriculture into the curriculum as much as possible. A couple of years ago with my 5-6 class, I was teaching science and we had to learn about the life cycle of something and growing something. So their example was peas, and I thought, no, we're going to do lupins and wheat. And even the farming boys in that class really enjoyed it because we grew them in plastic bags so they could see the process that the seed goes through, right through to germination, and they were so intrigued. This year with Year 3s, I'm not teaching them science, but we've been learning about the history of Dowell and New Surrounds and of the grain handling process. So on Thursday, we're going on an excursion up to Brisbane, to the Wheat Bin Museum, so integrating it into there, but they're all really engaged. I know that the high school students are more involved with agriculture. They have been to Liebe's field spring days, and they've been on tours to Africa to learn about how their science in the classroom can be applied, like pH and soil and all that, into the real life, and then also what careers are available in agriculture. Yeah. Yes, Jane.
It's not a curly question, Sarah. Just really going on from there, how do you, it's all very well, most people in Dalwhinnie, we believe, have some idea of agriculture, even if they are living in the town, but how do we get that into the actual, into the city? Agriculture needs to be promoted in the city.
Yeah, good question, Jane. I think just initially starting up with family and friends that you have in the city and realising, do they actually understand what you're going through, what's involved in farming, and from there just chatting to other friends that you may have, or them chatting to their friends and networking that way. Yep.
I know you mentioned that in your definition of an advocate that you weren't necessarily prepared to go out and be vocal on social media. And I just wonder whether that is a tool. It can be approached in many different ways, but whether that is a tool to be able to tell this story, because I think it's fantastic. And even if, uploading this presentation with the awesome photos would be a really good start to perhaps opening up that conversation with those outside of our initial or our sort of first ring of contacts.
Yeah, definitely. So, social media, even starting up a blog is one thing I've considered doing, just getting it out there, and you have a worldwide audience. So, yep.
With your contemporaries outside of Dalwhinnie about this? Have you got teaching friends?
Yeah, definitely. Teaching extended family, they're all amazed about what's happening, and then I talk to them in detail, and it's really great because I can have a chat to Dad, because as a child I didn't really quite get the whole concept of it, but now we can have chats to it, and then farming friends that are still encouraging up have a good chat to them, and even Dad's sort of lost for words as to what to say. So.
Has anyone shown interest in replicating this?
No, we actually had quite a bit, to the point where I actually scaled back. We've got 3 this year, but there was looking like there was going to be dozens, and I can't manage that. We've got to farm first.
It seems to me that Ben's role as a mentor is probably, you guys, probably very important.
Yeah.
So if you replicate it, how easy is it to find mentors for the person doing the reports? Are all spouses equally willing?
I don't know how willing I am. Look, through the Liebe group, I think we find an awful lot, and farmers in general are incredibly passionate and would love to talk to anyone at length about what they're doing. So yes, I'm sure there's plenty of guys out there who would be more than willing to be.
Do you think that it's been easier the longer it's been going on? Because obviously the first year it took a lot more time, your time to get.
Yes, yep, and there's less and less to teach there now. She's up so much more up to it now with what we're doing that we can have much more detailed conversations about. Yes, definitely. The first year was definitely the most difficult.
So realistically, if you're going to go forward and adopt it elsewhere, you need to be in it for more than 1 year to be able to get a benefit.
Yeah.
Just one comment. Maybe it's something that like we all live in different towns, maybe it's something that could be, we could all go back to our hometown and then do an approach to school, and maybe instead of one person, maybe make the school adopt an acre with a farmer or a class or something like that, because it seems to be on the ABC quite regularly that there's this disconnect between the city and Perth, and you've only got to go to the city and it's raining and we're all excited about it and the city's complaining. So I did actually get on the radio one day because it was being commented, and just rang in and said, oh, please don't be angry about the weather, like it's got to get past you to us. So maybe we could adopt a school, get a school to adopt a maybe or a class.
Yeah.
I'd like you to join with me in thanking Ben and Sarah, because it was really fantastic. A great concept, and hopefully we can have some more news and who's followed along and taken it a bit forward. And I think it's something that can certainly grow and really make make a bit of a difference to the divide that's between the country in terms of their understanding and the city of what we all go through and what we put in and the returns that we get, depending on a lot of factors that aren't in our control. So thank you very much for your time with us today.